Hi grade 8 students! Teacher Josie is here again for another engaging and challenging learning experience. At present, the world is facing a big problem. The war between Russia and Ukraine. In mathematics, they are like two triangles which are not congruent. So, the challenge for us today is to become defenders, not of the two fighting countries, but of the two triangles that are congruent. Introducing our lesson, Proving Congruence of Triangles. The most essential learning competency of our lesson is proves two triangles are congruent. Let's have first the name that CP or CP activity. Here, you are going to name the congruence postulate or congruence theorem, if possible, that makes the triangles congruent. The answer is SSS congruence postulate. The answer is SAS congruence postulate. The answer is ASA congruence postulate. The answer is SAA congruence theorem. With your knowledge of the different definitions, properties of congruence, congruent triangles, triangle congruence postulates and theorems, you are now ready to prove the congruence of two triangles. Using the two-column proof, let us find out how we can apply the congruence postulates and theorems to prove that the two triangles are congruent. Let's have the examples. Example 1. Given a square DEAR and its diagonal DA. Prove triangle DRA is congruent to triangle DEA.
Let's have the proof. We will use the two-column form in writing the proof. Again, in writing the proof, always observe the given information. There must be a reason in every statement. Reasons will be definitions, postulates, properties, and previously proven theorems. Given is only used as a reason if the information in the statement column was given in the problem. In the first column, we have the statements. In the second column, we have the reasons. Statement 1, we have DEAR is a square and segment DA is its diagonal. And the reason is given. What do you think will be the next statement? Since DEAR is a square, the four sides are equal. Statement 2, we have segment DR is congruent to segment EA. Segment DE is congruent to segment RA. And the reason is definition of a square. Statement 3, segment DA is congruent to segment DA. And the reason is reflexive property of congruence. As you can see, segment DA is a common side of the two triangles. Segment DA is equal to itself. Take note in proving congruence of triangles, it's not necessary to prove all 6 pairs of corresponding parts of congruent triangles to show congruency. Since the 3 sides of triangle DRA are congruent to the corresponding 3 sides of triangle DEA, then the 2 triangles are congruent by SSS congruence postulate.
Next example, given triangle PEN and triangle POT. P is the midpoint of segment EO and segment NT. Prove triangle PEN is congruent to triangle POT.
Let's have the proof. Statement 1, we have P is the midpoint of segment EO and segment NT. And the reason is given. What do you think will be statement 2? Statement 2, we have segment TP is congruent to segment PN. Segment EP is congruent to segment PO. Since P is the midpoint of segment EO and segment NT. And the reason is definition of midpoint. Here, to use SAS postulate, we need to establish that their included angles, angle EPN and angle OPT, are congruent. And they are since the angles are vertical. Statement 3, we have angle EPN and angle OPT are vertical angles. And the reason is definition of vertical angles. So, statement 4 will be angle EPN is congruent to angle OPT. And the reason is vertical angles are congruent. Since the 2 sides and included angle of triangle PEN are congruent to the corresponding 2 sides and included angle of triangle POT, then the 2 triangles are congruent by SAS congruence postulate.
Another, given angle EPN is congruent to angle APN. Angle ENP is congruent to angle ANP. Prove triangle PEN is congruent to triangle PAN.
Let's have the proof. Statement 1, we have angle EPN is congruent to angle APN. Angle ENP is congruent to angle ANP. And the reason is given. What do you think will be statement 2? We already have 2 pairs of corresponding angles. To use ASA postulate, we need to establish that their included sides are congruent. The 2 triangles share a common side, which is PN. So, statement 2, we have segment PN is congruent to segment PN. And the reason is reflexive property of congruence. Since segment PN is equal to itself. Now, since the 2 angles and included side of triangle PEN are congruent to the corresponding 2 angles and included side of triangle PAN, then the 2 triangles are congruent by ASA congruence postulate.
And given Angle MOS is congruent to angle MES. Segment SM bisects angle OSE. Prove triangle OMS is congruent to triangle EMS.
Let's have the proof. Statement 1. We have angle MOS is congruent to angle MES. And the reason is given. Next, statement 2. We have segment SM bisects angle OSE. And the reason, it is also given. Since segment SM bisects angle OSE, it divides the angle into two congruent angles. Statement 3, we have angle OSM is congruent to angle ESM. And the reason is definition of angle bisector. Next, statement 4, we have segment SM is congruent to segment SM. Reason, reflexive property of congruence. Take note, segment SM is a common side of the two triangles. Segment SM is equal to itself. Since the two angles and the side opposite one of the angles in triangle OMS are congruent to the corresponding two angles and the side opposite one of the angles in triangle EMS, then the two triangles are congruent by SAA congruence theorem or AAS congruence theorem.
Any questions, grade 8 learners? If there is none, then let's have this activity. Let's check.
Number 1, angle BAC is congruent to angle DEC. Number 2, given. Number 3, angle ACB is congruent to angle ECD. And number 4, ASA congruence postulate. Did you get all the correct answers? Very good.
How do you prove that the two triangles are congruent? To answer this, let's do the next activity. Let's check.
So, what is your score? Is it perfect? Thank you, grade 8 learners, for always giving your best in our activities.
To test the extent of your understanding of today's lesson, let's have this activity.
To expand your horizons of learning our lesson, here is your assignment.
That's all for now. Great job, grade 8 learners. Before I end, regarding the world's big problem, let's pray for the two fighting countries' immediate reconciliation. And I want to share with you a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Be congruent, be authentic, be your true self.